We are?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
I am Tara, and this is my mom, Jill. In case you guys wonder why I keep looking down, I have my computer. We are doing this live. And today, we are both from livingonadime.com. Mom is the author of Penny Pinching Mama, 500 Ways I Lived on $500 a Month. And we are both the authors of the Dining on a Dime cookbook, Eat Better, Spend Less, to help you save money on your grocery bills and cut expenses. So that is who we are. That is why we are experts, because we wrote a book and we said we're experts.
The magazine said we were too.
Yeah, but I told them to say that. I told them I was an expert.
Hi, ladies. Love you both. Hi, all. Julie from Georgia.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Okay. So, real quick, my mom is here in Colorado. She's from Kansas. We are talking about living on Social Security, how to live on a fixed income, and how to live less than you make. Because this can be a very difficult thing to do, but it also doesn't have to be real hard either. We both have lived on only Social Security. We have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. No, Mom has chronic fatigue syndrome. I have CFS and fibromyalgia. And before I got married, I lived on $300 a month Social Security. Mom, that is what she has lived off of for the last 30 years, is just her disability, which is now about, what, $600, $700 a month?
No, I just get Social Security now,
So,
pretty much.
but that's how much?
$750 is what I get.
$750 a month. And so, here's the thing. For Mom, she's been disabled since 1988 when we all got sick. My mom, my brother, and I all got sick in 1988. We came down with a virus and never got better. You can go and do a search for chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia on YouTube and our website, Living on a Dime. We have a whole bunch of articles on that, so we're not going to go into that today. So that is what we are talking about today. And everybody keeps asking, Mom's been doing her Penny Pinching Mama series, which the end of the videos, we're working on getting those edited. But everybody asks how Mom does it, living on Social Security. And they want to know, how do I live on a fixed income? So that's why we're doing this show today, to try and give you some tips and pointers on how it can be done. And before you get to that point, what you can do to prepare yourself. This is not something that for a lot of people just sneaks up on them. We all know we're going to turn 65 and 70 and start needing to retire. Mm-hmm. Now, disability can sneak up on you, but you can still be prepared for that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Here's the thing. Even though disability sneaks up on you, there's really no reason to not be prepared for it ahead of time. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. So here we go. Just a real quick update. Mom is here because my brother came to see a spine specialist here in Denver. They did not find anything today. They're sending them home to Wichita to do more tests, and they're going to come back in a month. So that's the brief on that. If you guys could keep praying that they would figure out what's wrong with him, we would really appreciate it. So,
Wanda, speaking the general consensus of everyone, hello, ladies, you're looking great today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. Mom lives on $750 a month. I lived on $350 a month before I got married. And let's go ahead and I'll just let you get started, and I'll kind of fill in between.
Okay. She says I lived on $750. I said I live on $750 a month, but up until 2 years ago, I had never, I don't know, for 30 years, for years and years, I'd never lived on more than $300 to $500 a month. So when I'm a little bit different than most people. When I went on Social Security, I was doing the happy dance because I got almost 1/3 more in my income when I did that going from like 500 to 750, where most people go down, I went up. So I was really excited when I went on Social Security. The thing is, why that worked for me was I had trained myself for years to live a lifestyle because I lived on so little that it didn't really, bother me or anything.
Just answer it.
And so, did anybody hear the telephone ringing? But I'd gotten used to a lifestyle of being careful with my money, controlling my money instead of letting my money control me. And I want you guys, the things I'm going to be talking about, Tara and Mike wanted me to give my budget, what I spend each month on different things, and to give my budget and the numbers and things, which I really don't mind doing, but I really have a bugaboo that we get hung up so much on the numbers. And you've got to be careful. I've never been a numbers person. I've never worried about how much so-and-so pays for their roast beef, or how much it costs to live in a house in, San Francisco or New York or wherever. You have to concentrate where you're at, not worry about the numbers. Just take the money you have, the income you have, and adapt it to where you're living, and work those two together. Worrying about what somebody in Florida is spending on hamburger is not going to help you. I cannot understand. I can't wrap my mind.
Yeah, that's one thing that really irritates Mom and I.
I cannot wrap my mind. Why should I worry about somebody else is spending on hamburger?
Yeah.
And they may be making more money than I. So if they want to spend $2, $3, $4 a pound on hamburger, and they've got their debts paid, go ahead.
Yeah.
And so it's get the numbers out of your mind. Even though I'm going to give you numbers, think more of, even like we have people say, well, and this really, now I'm getting my pet peeves out tonight. I don't mean to, guys, but I'm getting my pet peeves out tonight. People say, well, it costs me where I live such and such for housing. It costs me this much to buy groceries. It costs me this much for that. And it's kind of like a whiny pity party. They're telling me, they'll write a whole page of all this horrible stuff, that they live in a bad area and they don't have any money, and well, it's cheap where you are, but it's not cheap where I'm at. It's like they're wanting to, for either me to feel sorry for them, or to do the blame game, to blame, well, this is where I live and I can't help that I don't have any money because I live here. Get over it. You can move. I have moved from one state to another, and I had $35 in my pocket. I had no home that I was moving to. I had no idea where I was going to be living. I had no job, and I had 2 kids and a silly Volkswagen with the dog. And yeah, with the dog. I think we didn't have the cat then, with the dog. And I had $35 in my pocket. Now that's a scary situation. So all the scary stuff you write me, most of the time doesn't faze me a whole lot. And yet I had enough guts to get up, pack everything up, and drive and go to someplace else that I thought was less expensive. So please stop using the excuse, well, I live here and it's too expensive. Well, I can't move. How do you expect me to move? Just get on a bus, pack up what you can, sell what you, and go. So I'm starting this out, I hope not too negative a note, but it's horrible. But you've got to get over the numbers. You've got to get over the excuses saying this is not going to work.
They're still talking about the numbers. So Jamie emailed me and said, "Smile, Tara. You look super annoyed." I am annoyed. Guys, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
You are missing the point. $2,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment in Boston. Well, yeah, here in Southern California, it's $1,500 for rent.
And so what? You can move. Move.
If you cannot afford to live there,
don't complain about
move.
it. Don't holler about it. Either find enough jobs, 2 or 3 jobs to cover it, or move.
Yeah.
I don't care if all your family. I have moved from Kansas to Idaho in order to save money. All my family was in Kansas and Colorado except for Tara and Mike. I left everybody behind.
Yeah.
Don't give me excuses why you can't do that, because it's your choice. We're hearing about choice this and that. It is your choice. And if you're choosing to stay there, then you buck up, stop making the excuses, and find a way to afford to stay there. And if you can't, well then, what can I say? Why are you laughing?
Get it together, people.
So, I'm wanting you to stop focusing. Okay, first of all, I was going to say too, this doesn't have to be just for people on Social Security, living on Social Security, or living on a fixed income, or minimum. This is for people with minimum wage. This is for people that are making an average income, good middle class income. And this is for all of you, because the point is, if you can throw out the numbers, get rid of the numbers, get rid of how much you're living off of, get rid of how much it is where you cost, and get rid of the numbers and use these tips and ideas, they will work for everybody.
Yeah.
These tips and ideas are not numbers. They're ways to use the number and the amount that you bring in and the number that you're going to spend. They're ideas of how to use those. No matter what those numbers are. You can use these tips and ideas.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right. So, when you're living on Social Security,
Oh, can I give an example?
how do you live on a fixed income? Okay. Yes.
Well, to make it more clear, maybe when I'm talking about not being the numbers, and this is for everybody. For example, here's one of the ideas we always talk about is don't waste food. That is not a number. That is an idea and a tip. And whether you're living on Social Security or fixed income, whether you're minimum wage or average, not wasting your food can work for all of you.
Yeah.
You see? Drinking tap water instead of bottled water to save money. That's another tip or idea. Everybody can do that. Okay, now go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So everybody says, how do you do it?
How do I do it?
What
What do they mean specifically, though? Everybody says, how do you do that? I guess I just said,
They're still not getting it. And I mean, I don't know. We're going to go through Mom's
We'll go
budget
through
here.
stuff, and
we're
then
going to go through Mom's
keep
budget
your,
here. But,
do the questions. Go ahead and send us questions, because I don't mind answering them.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. First of all, let's start here. Before Mom was living on Social, let's start before. Before Mom was living on Social Security, and before we got sick, Mom worked 3 jobs, making $1,000 a month. In 5 years, she paid off $30,000. Is it 30 or 35? I can't remember. 35,000 of debt on $1,000 a month with 2 kids, and that included her home. Okay, so let me say that again. She worked 3 jobs, making $1,000 a month as a single mother. 2 of those jobs were at home. She paid off $35,000 of my dad's debt because her name was on it in 5 years, making $1,000 a month. Okay, how did she do that? She focused all her energy on getting that debt paid off, period. No car loan, no student loans, no house payment, no credit cards, nothing.
Payments, nothing.
She worked her buns off and she got every single thing paid off.
And how did I do that? I worked. Long hours I worked. And, that's why it's hard for me when I hear all the reasons why you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, done that for almost all this different stuff. I really have. And so it's doable. It really is doable.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
And
so before she came on disability, she had every single speck of debt paid off, all of it, including her house.
And that's part of the secret.
Yeah.
Tara said disability can sneak up on you, and that's hard to be prepared for. You can be prepared for this stuff. I was prepared, and it's a good thing I was prepared.
Yeah.
Because when disability snuck up on me, it would have been devastating
Yeah.
if I hadn't done this. But because I'd done this, I was prepared. So when people say, well, we lost our job and we just don't know how we're going to live and survive, while you have that job, you should be taking every extra penny you have instead of fluffing it away on anything. I mean, tighten up those belts, and you need to get your debt paid off. And you need the car payments, the mortgage, get that paid off so that when you do lose your job, You can work part-time easily when you lose a job if you have all this paid off and keep your basic bills covered.
Yep.
Easily.
Yeah, and so the trick is for probably, I would say 70% of you guys, probably more, but I'll be liberal here and give you 70%. I would say for 70% of the people that end up living on Social Security or that type of thing, you can prepare ahead of time. You really can. I'm sorry, there is no excuse. You don't need to be paying car payments. You don't need to be buying houses you can't afford. Two family incomes, making good money, we're talking like $80,000 or $100,000 a year. There's really no reason your house cannot be paid off in 5 to 7 years. Really, there's not. Especially when both people are working, you can live below your means by half and get everything paid off. Now, if you've got car loans and student loans and all that, yeah, it's going to take you a little bit longer. But really, by the time you reach 60, there should be no loans of any kind at all if you are well and working and that kind of thing. And that's one reason why Mike and I are working so hard to pay off our house. What if he falls off the roof hanging Christmas lights and either dies or permanently injures himself? What if he has a heart attack? What if he has a stroke? Well, if we don't have our house payment, it'll be so much easier for the kids and I if something happened. So that's why you always keep the end in mind, which is my financial security is the most important thing to me. Not the most important, but I mean, as far as finances go, my financial security is more important than that new car.
Yeah.
My financial security is higher than living in that posh neighborhood. My financial security is more important than eating out tonight.
Than what our neighbors think or the kids' peers at school.
That new purse, that new whatever. So you always have to keep that in mind when you're doing that. So go ahead.
So far, we haven't done anything on the notes yet, I don't think. Well, it's just a matter of preparing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the point we're trying to get across. And we're going to get to the numbers. Don't panic yet. We're going to get to the numbers. But you've got to make up your mind. And one thing I was going to talk about, I heard somebody say the other day, people say, well, yeah, but look at the economy now. And what if recession, what if we have this? Do you know, I heard somebody say, recession is not, God doesn't even pay attention to recessions. God doesn't pay attention to recessions. Now, I'm coming across this as a Christian point of view that I trust God's going to take care of me. And if you're a Christian, you need to have that trust. But the thing is, I never knew a recession happened. Do you know, I sit here and somebody say, oh, remember the recession in 2000? I don't even know when they happened. 2008.
Yeah.
Remember the recession in 1990 something? No, I didn't even know it happened. They said,
Yeah,
I thought,
we
what
didn't either.
what recession happened, then? Because I have lived my life with so much control over my money that a recession can come and go. What difference does it make to me? It makes no difference because I can adjust those numbers higher and lower as I need to because I'm not concentrating on what somebody else is paying for chicken. I'm concentrating on what I'm bringing in. Okay, maybe the food went up a little bit, so I'll just adjust something else that I'm spending the money on. So maybe something else.
The economy right now is the best it has ever been. I don't know who put that in there, but she is right. It is booming. Gas prices are rock bottom. Gas prices are what they were in the 90s. Food, slightly higher in some places, down in other places. It's averaged about the same. We're doing a video on that later. But, guys, the economy is booming. It's great.
Now is the time to
do this. Okay, so let's get down to let's do what you spend on everything so everybody can see what your well,
let me say one more thing about the recession thing. People spend a lot of time, I've noticed, watching the news. And you say, well, what does this have to do with my money? You need to, if you're serious about this and you say, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? And go to our website, Living on a Dime. Go to our YouTube channel, and it's Living on a Dime, and look we've got 1,000, but close to 1,000 videos on there. And instead of spending 2 hours watching the news a day, getting discouraged, depressed on, well, look what's happening, take that 2 hours and start watching the videos. Start reading the post on the website. We go and train yourself how to do this. We go in so much more detail than we can do in 1 hour's time. And start learning. Put forth some effort. You're going to have to start working at this if you want to do it. But anyway, so you want me to give my list now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so you bring in $750 a month.
Yes.
So off the top, what happens?
Off the top, I tithe. I tithe $100 off the top. Now, I'm not going to go into this. The kids are going to cringe, but I'm not going to go into this a whole lot. To me, my tithe is the most important. We have heard every excuse under the sun. What you tithe is between you and God. Please don't say, well, you don't understand my situation and I can't tithe because of blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. I find when people become defensive and feel a little bit guilty about this, they become defensive and they start telling me their excuses why they can't. It's between you and God. You know, I don't need to know your reasons. I do this because I feel I actually am wussing out because the one main thing people say all the time is the tithe is the Old Testament thing. And I don't really totally cabbage onto that, but I don't want to go by the Old Testament. I mean, I'd rather go by the Old Testament one. Do you know what Jesus said in the New Testament? It's much worse than 10%. He said, you should give with sacrificial giving. Do you understand what that means? Do any of you really know what sacrificial giving? You just restored that beautiful old car. It's worth about $30,000. You need to go sell it and give it to the Lord. That's sacrificial giving. You just got a beautiful diamond necklace that you love more than anything else. Would you be willing if God asked you to give him that diamond necklace? You know, that's the type of thing. And this is the last I'll do on tithing. But it's very frustrating to me when people say, well, I take all my old clothes that I'm not wearing anymore and I go to the thrift store and that's my tithing. The Bible is very specific. It says, don't give me the blind sheep, the lame sheep, the ones that are dying with disease. Isn't that what you're doing? You know? Now, like I said, don't email us on this. That's between you and God. I am not really judging and condemning you. I'm just explaining some of the things that the Bible talks about on the tithe. So the tithe comes off first. Yep. And that's what I do. The next...
And I can guarantee if you do your tithe first, you will always be taken care of.
You will.
Period.
That's my
Mike and I...
Everybody says, what's your savings? What's your savings? The tithe. Yeah. My tithe is my savings.
And one time Mike and I literally had a quarter left and I gave it as our tithe because that was literally the last thing we had. We had no money left. The next day we got a $250 check. It was no coincidence. It was from something completely unrelated. We had no idea that it was coming. And so
we could tell you, we could spend hours telling you stories.
But if you're a Christian, you can't afford not to tithe.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't even.
Yeah, it's not even a consideration. So you tithe.
And then I spend $150. It kind of goes up and down a little bit, but $150 on insurance for my car and my home because my home's paid off, but that covers my car and my insurance.
So how much do you spend on housing a month then?
About $10 a month.
Okay.
Less.
And how do you do that?
Just pay for the 10. What do you mean? How
what's
do I do
the What's
the
$10?
$10 is the insurance.
Okay.
Because I don't pay taxes. Because I'm over 65. If you're over 65, disabled, and you have low income in Kansas, you don't need to pay property taxes. And so I don't have to
Which is something Mike and I have been looking at as we're considering moving. We have actually looked at property taxes in different states because places like Wisconsin, their property taxes are 4 to 5 times higher than they are here in Colorado. And over 40 years, it would cost the same amount for us to buy a $650,000 house here in Colorado as it would one for $300,000 in Wisconsin because the property taxes are so ridiculously high. So when you're consider moving, look at things like property taxes.
Especially if you're going to have that home into
Yeah.
your old age, you know, you need
when
to
we
consider
get it paid off, we don't want to have a whole nother house payment in property taxes.
Yeah, so you need to do that. So that's my home. That's all I pay on my house. And I'll get into the maintenance stuff in a little bit, too, on that. The next thing I pay is, and on insurance, I don't pay very much insurance because I drive a clunker. And that's been saved me more than anything is driving that clunker. I don't have to pay expensive tags. My tags are almost nothing. As a matter of fact, my other car is the pickup, the yellow pickup. And I pay $17 a year for registration on that yellow pickup because I have it's considered an antique. It's so old, you know. And so you got to watch the pain of the tags and all these things when you think about your car stuff. And so I keep that down low. And another thing I've done over the years that you need to start doing on your vehicles is what I do is did you have a question?
Yep.
I have bought cars for $500.
I'm smiling.
I have bought cars for $500. Most of the time they've been $500. I bought one for $1,000. I bought another one for $3,000, and then my last one was $2,500. But all the way through all the $500 car, the $1,000, I sold after I was done with them, or they were wrecked or something. I sold all of them, got money back for everything that I paid for them for. So I really didn't even pay for the silly thing. You know, it was just because I got the money back when I sold it. I sold it when I was done with them. The $3,000 car, I sold it and I got half price for it. So, and after I use these things for like 10 years or more.
Yep.
And if you're worried about, we get all the time, well, I'm going to be late, you know,
Because of a car breakdown.
because of car breakdown to work. I have never been late for work. I've never known, you know, I just never been late for work when I was driving for my car breaking down. It never happened. Besides that, if you're a good worker, if you work hard when you're at work, if you show up on time, if you never just take days off because you just want to goof off and stuff like that, and you do have that happen to you and you call in your employer. I was employer. If I had an employee call in and say that and they were a good worker, I'd say, that's fine. You know, these things happen. So why that's such a big issue with people, it shouldn't be, because people are using it for an excuse, bottom line.
Yeah. Kathy, thank you. I'm glad you love my lipstick. It's Maybelline.
It's kind of like the purple plummy.
Yeah, it's the plum color that's the long wearing. So that one is what it is. Maybelline at the store, the long wearing. Tithe. So Mom spends $100 in tithe. She spends $150 in insurance. Utilities.
Oh,
$10 for housing a month.
Yeah.
Because before she became disabled, she prepared and paid off her house. Utilities.
Okay, I have to use air conditioning in Kansas in the summer. I try to be as careful as I can. I get hot sometimes. I get miserable hot. As a matter of fact, I saw a gal from Australia. Hi, Aussie friends. I love you guys. But she was using her air con. Did you know that's air conditioning in Australia?
Yeah.
And she wasn't using it, and it was like in the hundreds back there, Fahrenheit, you know. And she was just dying. And she said, I really laugh at Americans because they keep asking me, why aren't you turning your aircon on, you know, first thing and just letting it run? She said, utilities are high there, so we just don't use it. I know, what a concept, you know. You can survive. You actually can live through a summer.
Yep.
You may be miserable and hot, but sit in front of a fan, and it really cools you more than you think.
Yeah.
So the utilities is $125 for average for everything. That's for gas, electricity, water, sewer, everything.
Yep. And yes, we already touched on tithing. Mom does tithe first thing. So
Somebody's asking you to re-say what you said about the property taxes.
well, go back and watch because we have a lot to cover. So you can go back and rewind this as soon as we're done on the property taxes. But basically, Mom has low property taxes because she lives in Kansas. So
And the other thing, I was going to tell you guys, if you can, to watch this a second time and take notes, because we go so fast, you're liable to miss some things. And if you could take notes and write some things down, it would help you.
So let's hit medical insurance real quick. Mom does not pay for medical insurance because she is on Medicare, and then she was on Medicaid before that. So
Yeah, so I've got that. But even when you're on Medicare, you don't have to pay, you know, it'd be like, I think it's like $200 or something a month, whatever. Okay, food. I usually say about $80 a month for food. and that's
Yeah,
not being
that's
careful.
good. Yeah.
That's not using coupons. I mean, I do that anyway, so I don't really pay that quite that much. Usually, I pay $20 one week, and I'll go the next week. Maybe not go to the grocery store, and then go $30 and not go for 2 weeks or something. So I'm just saying 80 just to make sure I cover everything.
And we don't do this. Okay, I have $30 this week. That's all I'm going to spend this week on groceries.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
No.
As a matter of fact, I think that is counterproductive to actually saving on groceries. I think
It stresses you out.
I think you spend more when you do it that way.
Yeah,
Because
you do.
if I go and find a good deal on hamburger, like one time I went on New Year's Day and hamburger was marked down to 99 cents because of the holiday. I got 250 pounds of hamburger. And that lasted, I split it between my sister-in-law, mom, and me, and my portion of that lasted us like 5 months. Well, I didn't have to go buy any meat for that 5 months, except, well, if I wanted chicken, I guess. But I mean, I had enough hamburger for that.
Yeah, you could have.
So,
and if you're in dire straits, if you had to eat hamburger
Yeah.
for 5 months, then eat hamburger for 5
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
And another thing on the food is I find a lot of people on Social Security or limited income, like if your kids have left home, they take, and what you tend to do is you cook huge amounts. A lot of women have trouble transitioning from their kids leaving home or they're by themselves and to that cooking smaller amounts. And so there's a lot of waste happening, and you don't know you need to learn how to cook smaller amounts and start. We have a post on the website, Living on a Dime, and I think I did a YouTube one on the YouTube channel too. And I'm not sure if we have tips on cooking for, I think, smaller batches and smaller amounts. I think maybe here in the cookbook too.
Yeah.
So, and I covered the cooking in the Penny Pitchin', but
and so for those of you who live in Canada, guys, you got to do the exchange rate. It's not going to be exactly the same, but $80 in the U.S. is about $106 in Canada. So that's about how much
there
Mom
you go with the
spends a
numbers.
month.
See,
Stop focusing
I
on
didn't
that.
want.
But,
That's why I didn't want to give these numbers, because if you only have enough money to pay $10 for food a week, then you make that $10 stretch.
Yeah.
We have tons of ideas how to do that, tons of recipes that we've given you guys in the cookbook, and on the website.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So what do you want to? So while we're still on food, what kind of things do you eat for food?
for me,
Yes.
okay, once again, we've done a full video on what I eat, and I go through lots of detail for every single meal. But for right now, I'll tell you, I have nothing but graham crackers every morning. That's because I'm sick, it's easy for me not to think. And so I have graham crackers and coffee, 1 cup of coffee every morning. I will sometimes have, and which I pay it's $1.68, I think, for a box of graham crackers, and that lasts me almost a full week. So for $1.68 is what my breakfast costs, and then add, say, quarter in for coffee. So less than $2 for a whole week is what I eat for breakfast. There was a time where I could have just eaten 1 egg, or I'd eat a small bowl of cereal. And once again, you're getting older. I'm sorry, I have to say it, guys. You're getting older. You don't need to eat as much. So do that. I'll eat a piece of fruit for a snack, maybe.
Yeah.
I kind of spread my food out. I'll have cheese and crackers and maybe a piece of fruit or something like that. And then at dinner, I just have meals like everybody else does. I don't eat anything special. I will have a piece of chicken with maybe a baked potato, a small amount of broccoli, and call it good. That's my meals. And maybe I'll have a Hershey's candy bar for dessert,
one thing, when you're learning how to live on a fixed income, this is going to kind of ruffle some people's feathers, but stop eating so much.
Oh, I know.
Now, I know I need to lose about 40 pounds, but stop eating so much food. People, when they are learning how to live on less than they make, do not take into consideration their consumption of food. It's incredible. I know people all the time who are living on a Walmart salary, and they're complaining about how they live on Walmart. It's so bad because we have to raise the minimum wage and wah. Listen here, guys. Stop ordering that $40 pizza, having it delivered. Stop stopping by McDonald's and having dinner every night because you're tired and you want a treat. you don't do that when you guys are trying to cut these things out. And when you keep consuming that much food, it automatically is going to raise your expenses.
Okay, the kids are going to hit me over the head with a 2x4 after this and say, why
Oh, no.
did you even say that?
Oh dear. Mike, get ready to push me out.
They're going to be so mad. But I don't think a lot of people have been as in serious desperation for food
Yeah.
as what I was.
Yeah. Go look
to
at
feed
our
my family.
Go look at our groceries for $7. That's the video.
Now, when you get where you're not sure what your next meal's coming from and how you've got 2 kids and you don't know how you're going to feed them, we have become so spoiled. I have to lay it on the line here. So spoiled. And I didn't sit there and think, well, I need to get this chicken that's free range, free of chemical dyes, that is free of everything. And because my family's health, it's important.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My family's starving. That's not good for their health either. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
My family's starving.
Yeah.
There's, if I got a choice here, I'd rather chance, and I figure, this is the way I think about it. I may die of a heart attack tomorrow, but the way I think about it is, if God wanted me to buy that at that point in my life, He would have given me more than plenty of money to buy that free-range chicken, that gluten-free box of something. But He didn't, for whatever reason, supply me with enough money to do that. So I took the money He did give me, and I did the best I could. I mean,
Yeah. And if you're
don't be like the Israelites, complaining
Yeah.
and griping because we don't have pheasant to go with our manna. Excuse me? God provided them manna every single morning. And you wonder why your prayers don't get answered. If you're complaining about not having this or this, you can't expect God to answer that prayer. If I had a spoiled kids throwing a fit, well, I don't get this, or why didn't you do that for me? Mom, I'm not going to give them any more if they're not appreciating the things I do have.
Yeah.
You've got to stop complaining. Your prayers for food will not get answered. And I know people are saying, I need to feed them healthy. If you can afford to feed them healthy, you give them every healthy thing you can do. If you can't, you give them the best food you can.
Well, and like even the gluten-free thing, everybody says, oh, gluten-free is so expensive. No, it is not. You eat beans and rice or chicken and rice. It's really super cheap. You
Don't buy
have to
the boxes of special cake stuff
You don't
that's
have to buy the
gluten-free.
special flours, nothing. You eat rice. You eat millet instead of oatmeal. Get gluten-free oatmeal. Those are all super cheap things.
Organic foods. Peel a banana and get rid of eat just the fruits that you can do things like that with.
Make cornbread. You can make all these things gluten-free without spending a lot of money. We're not getting into that, but I'm just saying, stop using these as excuses. So, okay. So your next is, okay.
Oh, I see what my next is.
Mom actually has cable.
I have cable. I know. Oh my. I have no clue what Netflix is or anything like that. I don't do any of that stuff. But I do. That is the only thing I have in the whole world for any kind of. It's been probably 4 or 5 years since I even went to the low income movie where I paid $2 to go. I do no other form of entertainment. I do nothing like that at all. I just, that's the only thing I do. And I pay $50. Now, that $50 is for my telephone, too. So that's my cable and telephone combined. And I have the minimum amount of channels that I can get. And nothing extra at all. No extra channels or anything. And I have been debating about even getting rid of the cable at this point. So that's what I do for my telephone. I have no cell phone. I have a little flip phone that my folks gave me as a Christmas gift, or birthday gift, I mean. And that's all I have. I thought about getting a smartphone, but, I'm not sure I want the payment, or if I really can afford the payment. So it's a flip phone for me for emergencies and stuff. So add that up, and it comes to about $225, $250 that I've got left out of my money for the month. So what I do for that is I take and spend, I use it for things like if I need gas money, that's part of my gas money kind of, because that fluctuates from $25 to $50 a month. I use that for car repairs, which I don't do huge amounts of car repairs. Even though I have older cars, I can go 6 months or more without even doing anything. I sometimes pay for an oil change. Oh, and while we're on this, I am really a stickler. I know a woman, she will take and spend $100 to $150 a month for cosmetics and hair stuff, and
She's
then
an older lady on retirement.
Yeah. And she goes on and on about not having a lot of money, and she spends that much money on all these types of things.
Oh, man.
But she has somebody else. She goes to other people and say, guys, in family members says, I just can't afford to go to a mechanic. Can you fix my car? And they fix her car.
She goes to the food bank every month.
Yeah, she goes to the food bank. And things like that. You can't.
Shayla's over here like.
Shayla's having a heart attack. Don't take advantage of people. Stop taking advantage. If you ask somebody to fix your car, that's perfectly fine. I've had to do that. But that's when I had no money left, and I most definitely was not spending $150 a month on hair stuff, cosmetics, and other things. It's okay to ask for help, but make sure you're sacrificing, because if somebody else, you're asking them to sacrifice their time and everything, you need to sacrifice equal as much. So, so I try not to ask. BJ helps me a lot of times, but, I try not to ask for a whole lot of help for car repairs, and I really don't have that much. So then, whatever is left, I'll maybe take...
Okay, hold on. Let's go back to that for just a second. I'm sorry. Okay.
Shayla's like, Mom.
Okay. So, when you're living on Social Security, if you're doing things like $150 a month for hair and nails and makeup and that kind of thing, you should not be going to the food bank. I'm sorry. This is a bee in Mom and I's bonnet, because everybody keeps commenting, well, why didn't you get help with this? Why didn't you have help with that? One word, integrity. No one has integrity to pay for their own bills
responsibility.
anymore.
Yeah.
No one has that integrity anymore. And here's a great example. I have been trying to get off disability for years, just because we earn enough money that I don't need to be on it. The government has not let me off. It has been like pulling hen's teeth to try and get me off. And every single time I call, they're like, well, why in the world would you want to do that? Every single time. Well, why would you want to do that? Because we can pay our bills, and I'm not
responsible
single
for myself.
and able to work on my own anymore. I have my husband that will support me. Why would I do this? But this is the attitude that everyone has. You get every form of assistance that you can. You get the...
And they all come with strings, and you're a slave.
Yeah, and Mike's right. He said they all come with strings, and you're a slave to the government then. You're a slave to Medicaid. Mom and I both know, what a pain in the rear it is to deal with Medicaid. You think this universal health care is so wonderful? Let me tell you, it is not a bowl of cherries. You cannot get treatment. You have to spend hours and hours away from work dealing with paperwork. You go in for treatment. They treat you like you're the slime of the earth because you're on Medicaid. You can't get the help you need. You go and get that cell phone. Well, you have to report every single thing you earn to the government if you want that free cell phone that comes with welfare. So this is what I'm saying is people do not have the integrity anymore. I remember the Waltons. And this one, I know it was a fictional show, but this is the way people were back then.
It was.
This one family was having dire starving. They were starving. dire straits. The dad got hurt, and they were starving. And the Waltons took their best pig that they had slaughtered and took it over to their friends that they knew to give them the food. But because they knew the people had integrity and wouldn't accept charity, they said, can we cut some of your trees off of this place so that we can have that in exchange for this?
For them to keep their dignity. For them to help keep their dignity.
And I think this is a big problem with a lot of people is we've gotten so used to relying on free stuff and relying on the government that we don't even try.
And it affects your self-worth.
It does.
People talk about, well, we have such low esteem. Let's give these people books on girls on low self-esteem, lack of self-confidence. You don't realize this stuff slowly eats on your mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't consciously, but subconsciously, you're getting free hand, and we weren't made to do that. God didn't make us. But here's the other thing, and some of you are not going to want to hear this, but I am so glad I never accepted like that stuff. I am so glad that I didn't do some of these things, because you know what I got to do? I sat back, and every single time God stepped in. He stepped in. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would never have seen that. People talk about, oh, I'm so afraid. What am I going to do at the end of the month? I'm so afraid. What's happening in the world? I literally, at this point in my life, now I may later on, I don't have a fear, especially as far as this stuff. I don't live in a stressed out, crazy world of fear all the time. I know if I lose everything tomorrow, God will be there to provide my needs, because I've lost everything time and time again, and He's been there. And I feel sorry for people who depend on the government, on the food banks, on anything else they can get over and over again, because you don't allow God to work. He's not going to work in your life. He's not going to do it. Why? Because He says, I will be there to take care of you, but you're not allowing me to. You're accepting it from somebody else. So,
and let me just do a disclaimer real quick here. Okay. So when I say that about the food pantries and stuff like that, I am not saying everybody doesn't have integrity. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
If I said that, I'm sorry. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is people do not try to figure it out themselves first.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no problem. Someone like Mom, she doesn't. But someone like Mom going to the food pantry if they have no family to help them, if they have I have no problems with that.
That's what the food pantry is there for.
That's what it's for.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
For these really dire straits. Like she was talking about in the Waltons. They could have used it. But
we're
many
not
of
talking
us
about that.
aren't to that point yet.
Yeah.
Many of us still...
When you're spending $150 on hair and nails and face a month, but you're going to the food pantry, that's what I'm talking about.
I didn't buy us desserts.
Yeah.
I didn't buy me coffee. I didn't buy me candy. I bought nothing like that.
Yeah.
And yet I see people that are on welfare and doing the food banks doing that.
Yeah. And
taking their money and doing that.
And so
we
just
don't,
so you know, we truly
there's a
know.
percentage that need to use food banks.
And we're okay
and
with
you
that.
know that. And if you get really defensive, rethink things. Again, anytime people start getting really defensive, you need to wonder, should I be doing this or not? You need to think about it. But I'm so grateful for the food banks, because there are people that are desperate for that, and I'm so glad we have that for them now.
Yeah.
So
because it is to the point where people always accuse us every show. Well, I'm not, and then I get this 15-page letter.
Yeah.
You guys, there are exceptions to every rule. And once again, we're not saying people who truly, truly need it. But when you're spending $150 on your hair and your face, you're going and buying that new purse all the time. You're not shopping at the thrift store for clothes. You're getting them at Dillard's. You're getting them at Macy's. You are not a candidate for the food bank.
And you know what?
I'm sorry. So
when I was doing what I knew was right, that I was being responsible, my conscience was clear, and if I had to go get help, I would do it. And when I would do that and somebody would say, well, she's doing this or she shouldn't be doing that, I didn't ever say to them, well, yeah, I need to, because it didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I knew in my heart what I was doing right.
Yeah.
I never had to defend myself when people would say things to me that, you shouldn't be doing this or that. So I really wonder sometimes when people get really and say, well, you don't know my situation.
Yeah.
I never said that to anybody.
Yeah.
Never when I was going through things, So be really careful. And we say time again, there are exceptions. And it was the last 2 or 3 videos, we said, don't email us with your exceptions. We were really dogmatic on that. It was like the first 4 or 5 comments were the exceptions, so.
Yeah. So, okay. So, oh dear, it just went out of my head. It was something important. We need to hit it before we quit. Crud. Oh shoot. Okay, go ahead to your next thing if you did.
Well, I think I got most of the prices.
Oh. Okay, so what has Mom done to help with things like extra Christmas money and extra car repairs and those kinds of things? So what are some of the things that you have done at home that you're not working, but you can get a little extra income for those people who need a little extra, but it's still legal to do that? So, what are a few things
And
you do?
I didn't get totally finished, I guess. The 250 I've left.
Sorry.
The
Go ahead.
250 I have left at the end of the month then. I take, and maybe we'll take $25 and just do for stuff, the special things that I want. The other 200 I'll put in just savings, like just a little, just save back the money. And I do that every month. I save the $200 every month. So like my refrigerator conked out. And so I wasn't a bit worried because I had my little savings. I took my cash and I bought me a new refrigerator. Now I bought a $400 refrigerator because that's all I needed. And I didn't have money for that unless I wanted to charge it, but I wasn't going to charge it. I didn't want the debt because I'm so free after having no debt. I don't want to even go there. So I use that money for when things go out. My heater went out, and I had to replace that, and that adds up. But some of that's used for Christmas money, but I also do things like I bake and sell gingerbread men, and I get a little bit of money. I use minimum amount, though, for Christmas. I don't spend huge money at Christmas. I spend around $25 for each person in my family. And so it's not like I know people that spend $250 to $500 for each person in their family.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm careful even down with that. So
all of the Christmas gifts, like 90% of them came from thrift stores, garage
buy
sales,
stuff at
brand new stuff. But
and
it came from
I
thrift stores and
laugh
garage
because
sales,
everybody talks about recycling. I have never, ever recycled. I have no packaging because most of my stuff was bought at thrift stores, so there's no packaging, I don't have anything like hardly my trash. I maybe have, in 1 week's time, a little garbage bag full of trash. That much. And when I had a wood burning stove, I didn't even have that much because half that stuff in the garbage I would burn in the wood burning stove. So
all right, so what's some other things? She baked cookies to give to friends and
I've
family
done
for
ironing
Christmas.
before. I've taken in ironing.
And other things that you can do, Mom hasn't necessarily done. You could do dog walking. My sister-in-law, she does gorgeous nails. Well, if this was her in that situation, she could do people's nails on the side, her friends, her family, pay her instead of someone else. Are you good with doing hair? Do someone's hair up. Can you buy things at garage sale, thrift stores, resell them? Go and go on dump day, get all the stuff everybody has that they're dumping and sell it at your own garage sale. We've done that.
People have wanted to pay me to come in and organize their closets, their house, and things like that. Oh, one lady I did do, she worked full time and she went and brought me all the ingredients, all the pans, and I cooked freezer meals for her. And she'd take them home. I do like anywhere from 15 to 30 days worth of freezer meals, and she'd pay me to cook these freezer meals. So
and then other things like, okay, when something breaks in your house, this comment just came up, but I missed it, who said it. But how do you fix things in your house that break? Well, first of all, YouTube it and Google it and see if you can fix it yourself first.
That was one of the things I was going to tell you.
Let's talk on that.
Well, I was going to say that I spend a lot of time on YouTube learning stuff. Don't spend time on Facebook. Don't spend time on looking at these weird things on... Michael's back there laughing on this weird...
Facebook. I'm looking at Facebook.
And we're working on Facebook. But I mean, Facebook where they have, what did the Queen of England do today? Or something like that's the type of stuff. I mean, don't spend time looking at, on YouTube and
Go
things
to the library, get good books like Dining on a Dime and Penny Pinching Mama, and but there's tons of books. But an
example the other day, my windshield got a rock. When I came to Colorado, it got a rock in it. And I didn't have the money to pay, really, to have it fixed. So I went on YouTube. I looked up how to fix that. I watched it about 4 or 5 times. I went and bought this little tiny kit. It was like putting glue on it is all it was, and I was actually able to fix it. I've done a lot of repairs like that for different things. If you need a faucet, if you need the on your faucet, a washer fixed on your faucet, just type in, how do I fix the washer? One time my toilet was acting up. I thought, oh no, I've got to have a plumber come. But I went and I put the symptoms on YouTube, showed me what to do. It was nothing. It was absolutely nothing to do to fix it. So, do as much of that stuff, and every once in a while, I will have to have a repair, so that's where my $200 savings comes in. Why?
This is one I just thought of, and I have to say it.
Get it together.
Let's not get together, people, but I just realized, you know what the problem with everyone is?
Do you want to think?
That when they have this issue?
Wait, everyone?
Yeah, everyone who's having this issue of living on Social Security and not making ends meet. Let me rephrase that. Everyone who's having issues with bills like credit card debt and car and all that, you aren't using the word no. You don't say no to your kids when they ask for things you can't afford. You don't say no to yourself when you feel guilty because you can't afford that $250 Christmas present. My mother spends way more time with my kids and my brother's kids than other grandparents ever did. And let me tell you, the money they spend on Christmas presents compared to Mom, guess who's the one that they go to when they have a problem? Guess who's the one who they call when they have something exciting happen? Mom. Because that quality time with the kids and the grandkids, being there for them, but you don't say no to your guilty feelings. Mm-hmm. You don't say no to whoever for buying the next outfit
You're
or
trying
whatever.
to buy their love instead of just sacrificing yourself for them.
I think that's a big one.
And you just said something about saying, and one of the major things to talk about saying no with the grandkids and stuff, at least once or twice a week, I will get a comment about, what should I do? I'm on Social Security, and my grandson or granddaughter and her daughter's living with me, and they don't work. They do nothing but play video games. They don't help me around the house, and I just don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm trying to support them on my Social Security. It's like, when she said no, it's like, let's say no.
This lady yesterday on our What to Do When Adult Children Won't Leave Home video, this lady had the nerve after watching the whole video. Gotta give you credit. At least you got nerve. She said, well, the kids, I have one kid that's 40 years old that's been in the home more than out of the home. And all the kids and grandkids keep coming over and they keep eating my food. And I can't afford to keep feeding them these huge meals, and they just keep coming to my house. And I'm like, honey, lock the door and don't let them in. No, seriously.
I know. She's choosing.
But that's showing a complete disrespect for you because your kids and grandkids are mooching off of you. When I go to my grandparents' house, I do not expect my grandmother to fix me anything.
You know what my grandson does?
To them.
My grandson comes over, and I feel slightly guilty about this, but he just laughs because he thinks it's a treat. I get out my box of pancake mix and make him up pancakes whenever he comes over to eat. And I feel so guilty because I make him these pancakes every time, and he wants them. Yeah. He says, I love them, Nan. I never fix them for myself, and I love them. We got to stop thinking we have to do this huge money crazy. And food and all. Our grandkids, they want to love you. It's like the kids going to Grandma and Grandpa's. My Dave and Jack, your kids, they love going to great Grandma and Grandpa's. My mom will fix them a bowl of popcorn or maybe give them ice cream. And that's it, but they love going over there, and they just relax. My folks don't tap dance or do anything to entertain them. They don't have, fancy computers to entertain them. They have nothing to entertain them, and the kids love going over there. They've got a couple of little toys like Legos, and the kids just play with them.
Yeah.
it's so you got to get out of your head. One more thing.
Yep.
I know a woman, we're talking about doing all the food and stuff. She was complaining about not having enough money. She spends over $150 a month on groceries because she lives on supplemented housing. Is that what it is?
Supplemental housing,
where
yeah.
they help
Section
pay
8, yeah,
Section
that
8
kind, yeah.
type of thing. She lives on that, and she's hollering about that not having enough money. She spends $150 a month, and she cooks these huge meals that she just gives to people. That it's not that they can't cook for themselves. She just likes cooking and giving, and that's fine because she likes it. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But don't be upset and say, well, I don't know how I'm going to make it. If you can't afford to be generous like that, it's a hard thing to overcome, especially if you have a nature with your children and stuff you want to give them. You've got to accept the fact you maybe can't be generous in your money, but you can be generous in your time and be generous in your love and your understanding. They need that just as much as what they do. The
No,
other
go
stuff.
ahead.
What are you laughing?
Everyone is disturbed. This is my Valentine. Okay, Mike, show them my Valentine's tree really quick. Quick, go. Can you not go up on that camera?
Well, I can.
Can you tilt it back
I
a little bit?
I can move the tripod.
Just tilt it back and show the top and then go back down again.
Well, it
Okay,
doesn't really
so
tilt
this
that
is
well.
my Valentine's tree. Yes, my Valentine's tree. It's depressing in Colorado because the sun goes down like at 4 in January, so I go through March or April with my tree. So yes. All right.
She changes it every couple months.
Yes, I changed.
He loves the Valentine tree.
Thank you, guys. Now everybody wishes you would be their grandma because they love pancakes and they want to eat their pancakes too. So anyway, all right, guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. Please visit us at livingonadime.com. Mom and David and Shayla are going home tomorrow.
Please keep them in your prayers.
Yes,
We
please.
appreciate it. Oh, and my mom wanted to thank you for your prayers for when she was in the hospital. They went and did a procedure on her. About an hour after she got that done, she walked home and went home from the hospital. It was amazing. She got so much better and stuff. So
it was crazy.
My brother ended up not having to go to Montana because
His mother-in-law started doing better.
his mother-in-law started doing better. Your prayers really do help us, guys. We need them so bad, so thank you.
So yes, so if you could please keep praying for him, and we will see you guys on Wednesday. I don't have any idea what I'm cooking. I'll figure it out on Wednesday at 3 o'clock probably. So have a good night, guys. Please visit us at livingonadime.com.
Bye-bye, guys. You want me to sing too? Anybody want me to sing too?
Then she needs to pause it right when it's. And then he needs to pause it right
And then he
when.
pauses. I missed you, Dave. I missed you.
Ah.
Can I show you my new
Yes, I insist right now. I'm not even going to get out of my